my minions. So, yep, mic's good. Whew, it's been a while. I'm almost done with that fundraising video. It's going to be glorious. I think I did a good job, being an amateur, filmmaker and all that. So, it's just me and my lady, and we're working hard at it. But today's topic, this come to me more than once. People just don't know what to do. You get your heart set on a certain thing, and that thing doesn't work out for you, and your life crumbles. And now what? And this particular thing, joining the military. There's a lot of people who have their heart set on joining the military, and it doesn't work out. They're disqualified for whatever reason. So you can't join the military for whatever reason. What do you do next? Well, think about that. One, how do you move past your dream? It's hard. I've had to wrestle with these thoughts myself. There were things in life I wanted to do, didn't work out for whatever reason, but there's always an alternative. There's an equal alternative. You just got to know what it is and find what it is. Now, can't join the military for whatever reason because there are a lot of restrictions. There are a lot of disqualifying factors. Too many to go into, but for whatever reason, you're disqualified, it doesn't work out. What do you do next? There's law enforcement. If you still want to remain in the public sector, there's law enforcement on varying degrees. Local, state, territorial, and federal. It will allow you to do similar things, even cross-train or cross-deploy with, military and other agencies. You want to be Tier 1 operator. You want to be part of SEAL Team 6 or DevGru. Be DevGru or CAG, which most commonly known as Delta Force of the Unit. But basically the Army and the Navy's Tier 1 JSOC unit. Or RRC now? Ranger Reconnaissance Company, I think it's called now. But basically, they're Rangers Tier 1 element. But you can't, because you can't get in the military. What's next? Well, something that little people know, you can go the federal route. So the FBI, they have HRT, their hostage rescue team. They are a Tier 1 element that are constantly with Delta and DevGru. They're the law enforcement element that has to go with them when they're out on their missions. They are a Tier 1 element, and they train up. So that's another route. You don't have to be part of the military. There are other federal entities, other federal avenues that'll get you close. And you're looking in forms of tiers. So if your goal is to go special operations. But if not, there's the Coast Guard, which they're still technically part of the military. But say law enforcement isn't working out either. Because people they want to serve, they want to do something. Well, then there's the private sector. The private sector, which I love, because little people don't understand, is anything you can do. Think about it in law enforcement, you can do in the private sector. Working armed security, working private investigation, fugitive recovery, personal protective services. In Virginia, there's this thing was called SCOPS, Special Conservators of the Peace. They're in the private sector. It is considered private security or private police, but they're allowed to do basically the same things local law enforcement is allowed to do. Preliminary investigations, traffic stops. They've got about a 1 to 3 mile radius around whoever's hiring you that you can operate out of. So traffic stops. The city of Manassas replaced their law enforcement with SCOPS. And it's been successful. You can look it up. But yeah, Special Conservators of the Peace or SCOP. But even in the private sector, as an investigator, you can do every single type of investigation that law enforcement has done. I've done accident investigations, child custody investigations, fraud and workers' compensation cases, criminal and corruption cases. I've worked. I like accident investigations. Now, mind you, the accident in itself is messed up. But I like working accident investigations. It's actually a lot of fun to work. I know people the guy who does basically focuses especially what he focuses on is wrongful death investigation. There are private investigators involved in criminal cases. Law firms hire investigators all the time to work criminal cases. Even like the DA or, district attorney, prosecutors, stuff like that. You can be an investigator for them. What else? I'm trying to think of the missing persons you could do as a private investigator. Or even like, asset recovery, or recovering lost or stolen items, repossessions, things of that nature. There's fugitive recovery. FBI has a fugitive task force. The U.S. Marshals are the premier #1 agency for tracking and hunting down fugitives and bringing them back. In the private sector, they're most commonly known as bounty hunters or bail enforcement, but they're also fugitive recovery. I've done and do fugitive recovery. So you could do it all in the private sector with less limitations. Now, mind you, state to state varies what you can and cannot do, or the rules governing the private sector. So you have to do your homework, and that could be a different segment that we do here. But you have options. If you can't join the military for whatever it is you're trying to do, there's law enforcement. You can't join law enforcement for the goals you're trying to achieve. There's the private sector. The private option for the military, you have PMCs, private military contractors, are going overseas and doing all different types of things. You join a foreign private military company. They are involved in some direct action stuff that you might want to do if you're about that life, So there's a private option for you. There's different trainings. There's some private trainings that are way better than anything the military or law enforcement will do. And a lot of private trainings, the military sends their military personnel to. Law enforcement sends their law enforcement personnel to. Again, you just gotta tell the story right and justify it. But these are private entities teaching military and teaching law enforcement. My buddies over at Applied Defense Concepts, that is their bread and butter. That was their goal. The reason why they came up to be, and the reason why the owners created the company, is because they wanted realistic, real world, applicable training to provide to people, not even just private security, but law enforcement and military. Give them their best chance to succeed. And the shit works, the shit's good. Go check them out. I'll put the link in the description below. I've mentioned them before, and there's links. I've got links for them all over. But yes, you have options. Don't give up on your dream just yet. Don't get discouraged. It might not be ideal, but you gotta be flexible. Sempre gonna be. Be flexible. Always flexible. You gotta be flexible. You gotta bend. The road that you're on, the road that you want isn't always straight. The path that you want, the goal that you're trying to achieve isn't always just straight ahead. You have to do some navigating. You have to go up, down, left to right, up, under, over, on top, whatever. Have a plan, a backup plan to back up your backup plans. So, private sector. Think private sector. But also know what you're doing, because you have some lazy recruiters that'll screw you over. Research, everything comes out of the DODI, the Department of Defense Instructions. And it's not classified. So if you're being disqualified for whatever reason, lazy ass reason, especially if it does not sound right, request that DODI, or you can look it up. You can Google it. The most recent one, you can pull that up. Same for law enforcement. Something's not feeling right, or law enforcement or a firefighter, first responder, nurse, doctor, or whatever. Some people go to the military to be doctors or whatever. You can be a doctor in the private section or even public. Every job that you're trying to do in the military, for the most part, you can do in the private sector or local law enforcement, local government, whatever that case that is. And probably with less hurdles and red tape you gotta cut through. But don't be afraid of the private sector. I know it has its, stigma. People look down at the private sector, but I've known people who all they've done is private security and private law enforcement and whatnot, that I would take a kick in the door in with any time before some people who work law enforcement or the military. It pays well. And what I forgot to mention, one thing I refuse to do is infidelity cases. I will not do it. Don't get me wrong, it pays well. It pays very, very well. Private security pay very well. But it's depressing. I won't do it, and I've got better, more productive things to be doing with my time than to be dealing with the petty squabbles of someone's domestic life. No thank you. But like I said, all is not lost when it comes to you can't join the military for whatever reason. You know, trying to join the Navy, there's the Merchant Marines. There's other options. There are private maritime ways that you can go about. So do your homework. What is the private equivalent to what I am trying to accomplish? A private equivalent of what my goal or my dream is. Look it up. There is a private version of it that may be better than what you're trying to go for in the military or public law enforcement, as we'll call it. So think about it. If you got questions, let me know. As always, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate y'all being here. Comment down below. Be respectful. You know that. But you can do it. I believe in you. Comment down below if you need help, you have questions, or if you think I'm wrong, let me know. We'll discuss it. Anyway, thank you for being here with me. Have a good one.